Hi everybody, welcome to JolieKnots Crochet. Today we are going to work on this winged shawl. Now this winged shawl is worked all puff stitches and chains, and you're going to have this really nice, beautiful wing at the end. It is a crescent shape, so it's going to curve around you and then move into that wing shape. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The yarn that we're going to use today is purchased from Ice Yarns. This yarn in particular is a 2-weight yarn, Angora Glitz. It is 40% Angora, 52% acrylic, and 8% lurex, which I believe is that glitzy part of it. The recommended hook size for this, I don't have crochet hook sizes, but knitting needle sizes, 3 to 4 millimeter. Typically, a crochet hook is going to go up a size from that, so we're going to go ahead and use a 4.5 millimeter, which is a G hook. So let's go ahead and get started on that pattern. Now the first thing that we're going to do is create a slip knot. And we're going to chain 4. Now into that the first chain on your hook, we're going to go ahead and put our first puff stitch. 1, yarn over, put through the stitch, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through all the stitches, secure, and chain 1. We're going to do that again into that same space. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, pull through all stitches, chain 1 to secure. And this is going to be the end of our first row. So what we're going to do now is to end our row, we're going to put a double crochet right into that same space. Alright, now let me go ahead and show you. Let me zoom that in. We have our chain 3, puff stitch, our chain to secure, our chain 1 for space, again another puff stitch, chain to secure, and a double crochet. Now starting on row 2, we're going to chain 3. Now the best part of this stitch is that everything is pretty much a repeat. We're going to repeat as much as we can, and it's 4th or 5th row, we're going to make that big decrease. So into the top of the double crochet, we are going to do a puff stitch, puff V-stitch, I guess you would call it, all the way through, chain 1 to secure, chain 1 for space. So right after that chain 1, we're going to go ahead and put another puff stitch right into that same space, and yarning over that 3rd time, closing our puff and chaining 1 to secure. Now instead of chaining that extra space, what we're going to do is we're going to make our next V-stitch puff right in between that first row's puff. So yarn over, pull up a loop, 2, 3, pull through all, secure, chain 1 into the same space, 1, 2, 3, pull through all, chain one to secure. But like I said, we're not going to add that spacing in between. So our next increase is going to be a little bit difficult to see here. So let's see if I can get close enough to show you. Our next increase, we're going to have an increase of 1 puff stitch on one side, 1 puff stitch on the other side. This puff stitch is going to go into the top of the last puff stitch, right there. This is your chain. This is the top of your puff stitch where you pulled through all loops, and that right there is where we're going to put our next puff V-stitch. So 1, 2, 3, pull through all, secure, chain 1. Again, 1, 2, 3, pull through all, secure, not a chain, but we are going to add our last double crochet into that side. So on the sides of any row, we are going to have a double crochet or a chain 3, which is going to count as our double crochet, of course. So we're ending with the double crochet, and now we're chaining 3. Okay, so now starting row 3, into the top of the double crochet, we're going to add another puff stitch. Surprise, we are full of puff stitches. Now because it's summer, I'm using this lighter weight yarn. I live in Los Angeles, so we might have a little bit of chilly moments in the evenings, but it doesn't really get too cold here. Chain 1, puff stitch, secure, and now our next puff stitch is going to be into the middle of the next. We're always going to be working in between our puff V stitches. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then don't forget that 5 at the end. So go ahead and finish that round, and I'm going to meet you back here at the end. Okay, so now we're at the end of the row. You're going to see it's a very dramatic increase, and we have one last puff V-stitch to do all the way here at the end. And I wanted to show you again, remember, when we are stitching into these stitches, all the way at the end, we're stitching right into the top of the puff stitch where we pulled through all loops, not the chain 1 to secure, but where we pulled through all of the loops. So you'll notice it by seeing the top of where everything is going together. All right, so let's go ahead and put our last puff of V-stitch there. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and again 1, 2, 3. All right, remember there's that double crochet all the way at the end of the row, and that's what we're going to put in. Now we've got 3 rows. Okay, so let me show you with the sample piece that I made. Let me zoom it out a bit. This is where your starting is. So you've got row 1, row 2, and then row 3 all the way over. So our next row is where we're going to start our decrease. Not necessarily a decrease because it's all in increases. We're actually not going to increase, and what we're going to do is we're going to leave 2 puff stitches at the end, and we're going to put our last puff stitch right into the top of the 3rd one from the end. So let's go ahead and do that, and I will show you how. First, we're going to chain 3 to start our row. And remember, from that last double crochet, right there, that's where we're going to put our first puff V-stitch. And it's always going to be the same exact thing on this side. So one side is going to be our crescent shape and one side is going to be our wing shape. And I will show you how to get that wing shape. Once we finish this first, it's not necessarily, I mean, somewhat a repeat, but once we finish this first one, the rest of them will be the same. So let me, oops, I'm not sure I did enough yarn overs on that one. Let's go ahead and go back. This yarn here is really difficult to frog. I have gotten rid of so much yarn. Oh, looks like I didn't even do that one. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3. And again, now we have our puff stitch into that. Our puff V-stitch. So the V-stitch, like I said, is going to be your puff stitch, your chain 1, and your puff stitch into the same space. And we're going to keep going, but we're not, like I said, we're not going to go all the way across. So here is our third set. And this is where our last puff stitch is going to be. Remember I said your third puff stitch in, which technically is the middle, right where you started. So right now, that's where we're going to end, and that's where our last puff stitch of this row is going to be. So 1, 2, 3. Chain to secure, chain 1 for space. 1, 2, 3. So now when we're at the end of here, you've got your chain 1 to secure. Remember, every row ends in a double crochet. So with this one, we're going to put our double crochet into that same space. There's not an increase on this end. That is the row where we're stopping our increase. So when we get to the other part, I'm going to show you, we have the middle here. We're going to do, this was 3 rows, but the repeat is going to be 4 rows. And I'll show you. But the repeat, the next one is going to stop here. The following one is going to stop here. We'll get to that point and we'll show you. So let's go ahead and continue. 1, 2, 3. This is starting row 5. Remember, our first puff stitch V-stitch is always going to be right before there. So we're increasing all the way at the end. Okay, and now we're going to be able to go right into the top of that first one. So repeat that all the way across. You guys know this repeat. Puff stitch V, which is your puff stitch, chain 1, puff stitch. And we're going to do that all the way. Oops, I missed a loop there. We're going to do that all the way to the end. Oh, I missed something on that one. Okay, I'll start that one too. Okay, so you're going to puff V-stitch all the way to the end. So here you have your first one. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that increase here. So we're going to have 5 total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, just kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. We're adding 5 more. Okay, go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end. All right, so here I am at the end of the 4th round of the repeat. So we've got 1, 2, 3. This is the beginning. That one's going to be 3 rows deep, and all the rest of them are going to be 4. So what I'm going to show you right now is going to be the beginning of the 1st round repeat. So if you remember, we left 2, 1, 2, and we worked into our third, or we stopped at our third one from the end. This one, the easiest thing to do is we are going to, let's see if we can zoom in. We are going to follow this braid all the way up, and we're going to stop working into that one, which is going to be the fourth one in. So we've got 1, 2, I'm sorry, the fifth one in. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're skipping 4, and that's the one we're going to work into. So remember, this braid going up right here, skipping 4, stopping at the fifth one, leaving 4 left. So let's go ahead and, oh gosh, I'm so excited that my yarn is starting to change colors. I got this yarn several months ago. Our color's a little bit different, but this is a pretty purple. And I have been working on the best wing pattern that I could think of. Okay, so first round of our repeat. Again, we are making our puff V-stitch into the top of that double crochet. And we're going to keep going all the way around until, what was that? I said we were going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 left. All right, so meet me back at that side and I will see you then. All right, so here we are at the end of the first round of the repeat. We're repeating rows 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. So remember, in this one we don't have an extra increase because we are stopping sooner. We are stopping 4 prior. It's always going to be 4, and it's always going to be 1 less than where this one stopped. So here, remember, we are going to put our last double crochet into that same space, chain up 3, and this row is going to be just like all the other repeat rows. A repeat on the end on both sides. You should be able to go ahead and continue that until the size that you want, as long or as short or however you would like it to be. Let me show you the sample again. So here we are again. Here's our first starting V. First V, second row, third row. Only leaving 2 unworked. Here's the repeat. Now this repeat is the first row of the repeat. You're stopping, no increase, and then you're putting an increase going all the way down. Next row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. After your fourth row, you are going to be starting here. Don't forget you have your increase on every side, and you're going to work your way all the way across, and you're going to stop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every 4 rows you will begin another repeat. So again, remember how I gave you that little trick of you stopped here on this one, go up, you're stopping at the next one. Stopped here on this one, go up the V-stitches, you're stopping in the next one. So each side is going to go just a tad over, but remember here on this side, we're continuing the same exact thing all the way across, where you have an extra V puff stitch an extra V puff stitch increase on every single row. This side is going to look exactly the same all the way throughout your pattern. Doesn't matter. This side is going to be the one that's changing. All right, so go ahead and continue, and I really cannot wait to see what yours is going to look like. Please like, subscribe to my channel, watch the video all the way to the end. That's going to be very helpful, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching JolieKnots Crochet.